don't know what number this is. How you doing, man?
What's up, dude?
Bienvenido. I watched the Kevin Hart thing last night on Netflix.
Nice.
I binge watched 5 episodes one night and then 1 episode last night.
Are there only 6 episodes?
There's only 6 episodes.
Mazel tov.
To prepare for this. So for you, who I told you briefly, and people who don't know, he's got, I think it's called Don't F This Up, is the title of it. And it's a documentary of the year that includes his cheating on his wife became public knowledge. The whole Twitter debacle of the tweets that he had written in 2009 and 2010 came up. He, of course, got the nod to host the Oscars and then lost the Oscars. And a thing that I didn't realize, it was a small scuffle, but got in a fight with a very close friend in his posse in a small plane and was nearly arrested afterwards. So the whole idea is like he's constantly talking about messing up and effing up and then does so several times over the course of the documentary. It was super, super interesting. You should watch it.
Really? You think it's worth watching?
So the first thing that I appreciated in it was we're like, oh man, it'd be so, and I still think it would, it'd be so cool to get Kevin Hart on the podcast and ask him all these questions. And what this is true of everybody in the world. Kevin Hart is just a dude.
Yeah.
He happens to be hilarious and he happens to work incredibly hard, but he is not living, and I mean this, a better life than somebody who is pretty happy. Yeah, and not
You
to
mean
say
like a middle-class person who just is happy?
Yes, and that's not to say that he's miserable or depressed, clearly. But he is undoubtedly a workaholic who had a tough string of events come up and continues, and I don't think he totally acknowledged this, to struggle with the after effects of an absent father. And, he says it doesn't impact him at all, but like... And then by the end of it, he's like, I guess I am a lot like my dad, that, in the ways that he mess up are the ways that I continue to mess up. So he's not miserable, he's not depressed, but all of his millions of dollars do not buy him a higher quality of life, nor deeper insight into the human condition. He is undoubtedly hilarious, though. Like, he is so freaking funny. And so it would be cool to talk to him, but I think I've always imagined in the back of my head that if we had somebody really famous on the other couch, you were sitting right here with me, that life would somehow be different if that happened. And
we'd get more views, and then we'd get more money, and then we could be like Kevin Hart.
And we could hang out with Kevin and his friends, and things would be so great if we could like be in that group of people, right? And I'm glad they seem like they have a good friendship. He's got a cool posse, which we can talk about. But I deeply had the impression, I was like, oh, my life would not be better if I was in this. Wouldn't be worse necessarily, but...
Let's run the experiment just to find out. Kevin, come on the show.
Well, I think it really, I didn't realize I had any bit of social climber in my head, but there's a tiny bit of it in there. And this kind of was just like, you've got all the wonderful people that you already need in your life. And if you need more, they're out there on the street. Like, you don't have to go to the...
Well, his crew isn't full of famous
Hollywood.
people, right?
Exactly. So this is the other thing that is really interesting. The Plastic Cup Gang. Have you...
I saw them on Chelsea Handler.
Yes. So he brings he takes like 6 or 7 dudes and just takes them everywhere. So like 2 of his comedian friends, he's like, we're going to have, before my tour, we're going to have an opening act. And I like you, so you're going to be the other opening act. We're going to do 2 opening acts. And I like you, so you're going to host. It's never been done before. We're going to essentially have 3 opening acts before I go on so that you guys can travel with me.
Nice.
And then he's got his trainer buddy, who is his trainer friend, and he's got his other guy who runs this thing. And you get the impression that while perhaps you can't really tell, some of them may in fact be talented, they are in the position they are in very much acknowledged by him.
Yeah, sure. They're not then going and emceeing the Dave Chappelle show.
Correct.
They're specifically emceeing Kevin Hart's
Correct.
stuff. Yeah.
And that's not to say that they're not talented. It's to say that they were not picked, and it did not look like they were going to be picked to be major breakthrough successes anywhere near the level that he's taken them to. So that's interesting. And then the other thing, I mean, dude, there's so much. He's talking to these friends, but there's also, they get into the fight as he's in the air and he's drunk. And one of the things that comes up is money. And he's talking to his trainer and he's like, how rich are you? Like, you don't got your house. He's drunk and he's being a jerk. But there's this undercurrent of, at least in that moment, of money going on between them, which is such a hard relationship.
I thought one of Kevin Hart's friends tried to blackmail him for money.
This is the other thing that happened. So he's upset on the airplane because the whole cheating thing came out. And at first he's like, oh my God, I was in Vegas and this happened. And then they started looking at the footage like, how did they get a camera in my hotel room? How did this happen? And the allegations, the felony crime has been dropped, but you very strongly get the impression that he's not done pursuing civil cases.
He's suing whoever did it.
Someone extorted him for $10 million after setting up cameras and him cheating on his wife in Las Vegas. And the doc gives the strong impression that he believes that it was another guy in this crew.
I thought he knows specifically who it is.
Yeah. He's got the name. The name is JT Jackson. They blur him out of all the photos. He has been cleared of the initial criminal charges, but it's unclear if there will be further civil suit. Why it was cleared is not is it because it didn't happen? Is it because they not
when I saw Kevin talk about it, he does not seem to be unsure.
Yeah.
He's like, I know exactly what happened, and I wish this guy had just come to me and said he needed money.
Yeah.
Because I could have helped him out, but instead he tried to blackmail me for more money than I would have given him. And now I won't give him a dime.
Yeah.
I just let it go public that I cheat.
Yeah.
And me and him are not friends.
Yeah.
And so from only hearing Kevin's perspective, it does appear like this was a poorly thought out, poorly executed plan by the buddy.
Totally. I mean, I guess he thought, and I don't know, but
he thought he'd just get 10 mil, never get caught, and it would never come out. That's what he thought. He thought he'd videotape it. He'd have the only copy. He'd send it to Kevin. Kevin would send him $10 million. So now he's rich. Then he would delete it and Kevin wouldn't know. And he'd just he thought everything would be great.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, and it's just, you see this with the friends, not that it's, he really does look like he has a happy, good crew around him, but the undercurrent of money between them is real. And at the end, even, he gives them all their dream car. He gives every guy a dream car, and he's very generous with the money, but it does complicate relationships clearly. And he's like, these are my guys. But you could tell, like 3 years ago, there was an extra dude in that crew who was one of his guys who he knew for 15 years. And for the prospect of $10 million, he was just willing to probably not even, he probably thought he could stay friends with him. He probably thought,
I really think the guy thought that Kevin wouldn't know it was him and that they'd just stay friends.
Yeah.
I thought this is a victimless crime.
Yes. Kevin's
got 100 mil. I just get to get 10.
I got 10.
Yeah.
Still going to be boys. Still going to have a great time. I still got your back, bro. So that there's all of these different threads in it. And the thing that I most appreciated was, again, not that he's a bad guy, but I don't want his life. And we've talked, what if we could get Tim Ferriss to sit down or Kevin Hart? And I just constantly am reminded that it's like, what they have is not better than what is immediately available to me. And I think for the people watching this who maybe look up to you and I, like, what I have is not immediately better than what is available to you in this community that you are in the circle of people, with rare exceptions if you're in a horrible, terrible community.
No, and also, I mean, Tim, I don't know that I'd want to switch to Tim Ferriss because he's publicly talked about he has mental health issues, which I haven't had to battle. But I would still love to talk to him because I think there's a ton to learn from him. And, I think we could connect on a lot of stuff. He loves MMA, blah, blah, blah. So, I don't want to switch bodies with him, but I would still love to talk to him. And same with Kevin Hart.
Me too. I would, if Kevin Hart was game to come out here and do this, I'd be stoked. I'd have a ton of questions about storytelling and charisma. But I did realize, like, meeting Tim and meeting Kevin would not actually improve my life.
Yeah.
It would be interesting. It would be a cool conversation, but things would not get better. And I was grateful for that. I was grateful for, like, the authenticity in this documentary. At least they were authentic about the things that we knew went wrong. And then, dude, there's the whole tweet storm thing, which was fascinating to see behind the scenes. And they didn't even show a ton of it. But, so you know this. So he tweets out, the big one was, if my son... do you remember it? If
it's
you
like
were
in
playing with the
2010,
dollhouse, if you were playing with the dollhouse, I would smack him in the head with it because that's gay or something like that. And there were a handful of other ones with the word gay or no homo in there in 2010. And he immediately gets the call. He's like, guys, his first reaction is, if you can't recognize that people over the course of 9 years change, then I don't know what to tell you. Screw you guys.
Yeah.
And then a few hours later, he's like, the Academy called me. They want me to apologize. And in his mind, he's like, I've talked about this several times before.
Yeah.
I have apologized. I do apologize. But if that's not enough, so be it. And he continues with, he does then, I think his team puts out a tweet that's like, I deeply regret harming the LGBTQ plus community, which is a totally different tone than all the videos that he does. And everyone around him is like, Kevin, you got to say you deeply regret. He's like, I said it. I'm not going to say it again. I said it before. These people, like, if they want to tune in, go watch the Ellen interview where I said that I'm sorry about this. And he eventually gets to a point where he's like, I don't want to talk about this anymore because I'm feeding the trolls. Mm-hmm. And it was just so fascinating to watch how the difficulty in mass communication, which is like, one time 10 years ago, he wrote this tweet. 10 years later, he's being asked about it 15, 30, 50, 500 plus times.
Yeah.
Let's say he apologizes 20 times. On the 21st time, he's like, go watch the other 20.